I'm sure there was a great deal of wine coming back from the Bordeaux region.
Which is why still today we still have to come in with a case load of
It was the English who introduced the idea of customs and they did declare. So there was free trade backwards and forwards. And as we said again the last time, we talked about when the Normans came and they started giving out their privileges to their various servants. One of King Henry II's noblemen was given the right to a tenth of all of the wine that was imported into their new kingdom of Ireland, and they would decant it out of whatever barrel into these smaller bottles, and he became known as the butler, and that's where the name Butler comes from, and the Butlers were the Earls of Ormond, which is mostly Kilkenny and Waterford. And interestingly enough, the Earl of Desmond, my favourite, Garrett Moore of Desmond, and they disliked each other intensely. The Ormonds from Kilkenny and Waterford, and the Desmonds from Cork and Limerick, from that whole slice over there. When Warbeck came to town and said that he was the real King of England, "Oh, that's my man, let's go. Desmond goes down and he lays siege to Waterford, and which was Ormond. So there was great rivalry between Cork and Waterford, and there still is. But Cork being the port really for the more westerly Desmonds, the Barrys and the McCarthys. The Roaches and a lot of those names, the Tillys and stuff, they're Normans. They're like blow-ins like from the 11th, 12th century.
Yeah.
They're modern,
Norman too, though, right?
Anybody, they're like newcomers in our timeline. I mean, it's true. I mean, really, those who came in after 1169.
Isn't Barry a Norman name too?
Barry?
Yeah.
No, Dubarry. There's a Dubarry, but no, there's other versions of it. Now that Barry. But the bar, it's not so much, it's Barry. It wouldn't be pronounced Barry like we do.
Right.
Now the Barrys, there's a Dubarry, which come from, they're mostly around in Escorthy and over in Wexford. They would have been Norman.
So Burke would be the Burke.
Oh yeah, the Burka, they came in King John. Pardon?
Deborah's like a pretty common Norman name.
Yeah, all Norman. Great deal of Irish, but considered Irish names are very Norman. All the Fitz, anything beginning with Fitz is Norman.
Right.
Fitzwilson, Fitzmaurice, all that. But while we're on that period, now we may as well fill in another little spot. After the Norman invasion, as you know, Henry II came in 1169. That's the date everybody remembers in Ireland. Dermot McMurrough and so on. So 1169. Now, in 1170, actually McMurrough came in there. Henry came in 1171, and then he went back and was gone out with his wars and stuff. And he sent John, his son John Lackland, who later became King John, after two kings in between him, Edward and Richard the Lionheart, his two brothers. But when he did become king, he did come back to Ireland. And he had the time of his life. I've always believed that he was gay. He was like a weird guy. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay. I hope that, trust me, I'm not really down on gays. But he was in a, huh?
He was French.
Oh, he was French, of course. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, they were sporting people. But anyway, but he very strange guy. Whatever, he did give McCarthy, and you see they would have come to Dublin. There's no record of him actually being in Cork. He probably came in through Waterford. Most of them, believe it or not, just come in through Waterford. It's easier across from Wales. Pardon? By hook or by crook, exactly. If you want to tell that story, go right ahead.
No, it's just that
Okay.
where it came from. There's
That's
Crookhead
right.
and Hookhead.
Yeah,
And they would come in between.
that's right.
And they'd enter the harbour by hook or by
That's right. That's where that word comes from. But he granted McCarthy Moore a charter for the city of Cork. So it is one of the oldest chartered cities, and it's that King John's charter that still governs the city today. So they're very proud of that. And there's only 2 cities actually in Ireland that have Lord Mayors. The others have mayors, and that's Cork and Belfast.
Not Kilkenny.
Not Kilkenny, not even Dublin. And I learned that in a bar in Brussels, drinking with the Lord Mayor of Cork himself, who was over on a junket with the European Union, and he was with a couple of other fellows as well.
What was that?
I've forgotten his name now. You'd know it right away. Was it Courtney or Coveney?
Coveney.
It was Coveney. Was he? Was it Coveney? No.
There was a Coveney.
Um,
A lot of Jewish mayors.
You did, actually. Yes, you did. Well, because they were merchants. By the way, Cork has traditionally been dominated by the merchant aristocracy. And the difference between them and that was... So it was like very much a European burgher city, where the burghers, the actual people who own this, they ran the city. It wasn't a very democratic city right down until the end of the 1800s. And interesting enough, the Gaelic League... it wasn't formed there, but it was one of the very earliest places for it to catch on. So it became a very Gaelicized city very early on. But anyway, the King John granted it its charter, and to go back to, I'm not sure the exact date. It probably is in here. It would be in the 1180s or 90s. I don't know if I caught that anywhere. But I can assure you that it would have been at the very latest the very beginning of the 1200s. Probably in the 911. That's unusual. That's unusual. Well, anyway, so the Lord Mayor of Cork, which is very non-Republican, and yet they clung to that during it was really the capital of the Republic. That's why they often, when they refer to it today as the real capital of Ireland, they refer to it as the real capital of the Irish Republic, because Dublin was kind of a little wishy-washy about whether it was British monarchist or Irish Republican. But anyway, It had a lot of different winter periods. One of the most interesting things, while I remember it, is, I don't know if you've ever been there, but there are 2 castles and on either side. They were built during the American Civil War to keep the Americans out. Did you know that? Huh?
Queenswell Castle?
Camden.
Oh, Camden.
Oh, the forts.
Yes, the 2 forts.
The 5 points.
Yeah.
Charles Fort?
No, Charles is that's at Kinsale.
That's in Kinsale.
Yeah. But there's 2 very similar to that. One of them is Camden, the other is Carlisle.
Oh, Camden.
Camden and Carlisle, who were, of course, But they were built to keep people.
Chain across the
Pardon?
mouth.
They did.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep the Americans out?
Yeah.
There wasn't Napoleon?
No. The Napoleonic Wars came after that, but the American War of Independence would have been from 76 to about 80 something or other later. Well, when did Cornwallis lose at
Yorktown.
At Yorktown? When was Yorktown?
Yorktown.
80 something, right?
82, I think.
82?
Maybe.
I would guess somewhere around that. Yeah. So until then, the British knew there was a lot of Irish over in America, like John Paul Jones, and there was really, but they didn't want them captured. If they had captured the Cork Harbour, that would have given them quite a bit of leverage, and of course they were, if not formally, certainly sympathetically allied with the French. So anyway, I thought that's kind of interesting.
Thomas Paine's from Cork, isn't he?
We are convinced, I am convinced, and a lot of people are convinced that, not he personally, but that his people came from Cork, and because the Paynes of Cork are believed to be O'Neills, who went down to Cork and changed their names basically to survive. That he was actually an O'Neill. Very strong tradition. You see, some of the best history is actually in tradition, even though, of course, it's looked down upon by historians. But nevertheless, it's very.
It's not written down anywhere, though, oral history.
Well, it would be written down, I suppose, by now. But the official histories, written by Oxford and Cambridge, would not have. But he apparently had he had referred quite a few times to his origin. But what